Okay, I'm going to answer your question, but allow me to explain how the whole thing happened. In 2019, I was at a red light, stopped at a red light in my Volkswagen Golf. I got rear-ended by a drunk driver doing 90 plus in a Nissan Titan. They hit me so hard, the impact sent my Golf almost 300 feet across the road and up an on-ramp almost onto the highway. Of course, I don't really remember the impact, but I remember coming to shortly after the impact in a pain that was so intense, so unreal, that it was almost exquisite. Now, I don't remember much of the ambulance. I just remember bits and pieces of the ambulance ride. The impact was so intense, it tore my right kidney in half. Right? The only thing keeping all the blood from just pouring into my body was that the outer membrane of the kidney didn't rupture. So, the blood that goes into your kidney comes from an artery. So that's arterial bleeding into myself. And that kidney swelled and swelled, and it swelled about 14 times its original size before it popped. Now, like I said, I don't remember the impact. I remember coming to shortly after. I remember little bits of the ambulance ride to the hospital. And I remember, and this is the one thing I do remember, and this is the one thing that will stick with me, is that on the way to the OR, while they're getting everything going, there's a point where I felt a sudden release of tension inside my body. That was the kidney popping, or at least I think it was, where everything stopped. I just remember all the pain stopped. I remember movement stopped, everything. And I kind of remember a black man in a really, really nice looking suit going, "Come on, time to go." Like, just not even really talking. Like, he's just standing over me, looking at me. And then the next thing I remember is waking up in the ICU on an intubator, being, life support 3-4 days later. Meanwhile, while I was dead for 25 and a half minutes. They had already taken my family and my friends that were there. My best friend, a man I've known since I moved to San Antonio from El Paso in '99, took him to the family room and told him I was dead. They told them I was dead. Apparently, while they were in the process of moving me from the OR to a viewing room, a little private room in the hospital where they can view a dead body, apparently I sat up and started roaring. And apparently I was so loud that my best friend heard me in the family room and said, "My God, that sounds like Jace." And that's my real name, by the way. Jace. Nice to meet y'all. And said, "That sounds like Jace." Apparently I sat up and just started roaring, scared the shit out of the people that were wheeling me to the other room. They took me immediately back into the OR and did surgery. I don't remember any of that. The last thing I remember before waking up in the ICU was a sudden release of all the pain, pressure in my body, time stopping, and some dude, some black guy in a real nice suit, staring down at me and not feeling anything. And that's all I remember. I remember waking up in the ICU. I remember I remember 3 of the 10 days that I was in the ICU. I remember all 9 days in the PCU, Progressive Care Unit. And I remember all 3 weeks of being in the regular wing of the hospital. I remember being in a pain that was unending for 6 months. But that's all I remember. Now, what saved me from having clots and such, because after 25 minutes being dead and blood not flowing, normally it starts to thicken and coagulate, was that I'm on blood thinners. And that saved me from having clots. But here's the fucked up thing about dying. When you're dead and then you come back like that, something about you changes. Like there's part of you that doesn't come back. And for me, that was the part of my brain that felt sympathy and empathy. Like, before I was dead, I was a sympathetic man who could empathize with people in pain and suffering. And I did a lot of charity work, and a lot of volunteer work, and a lot of fundraising for people in bad situations because I felt bad for them. You know, I genuinely felt bad for them and wanted to help. And I don't feel that anymore. So when that drunk hit me, not only did they kill me, but they took away part of me that used to be a pretty big part of me about helping people. And I don't have that anymore. I mean, I still try to do charity work. I still try to do fundraising for charities, hoping that I feel that part of me come back. But I don't know if I ever will. Anyways, I got a YouTube story on my YouTube channel about it if you want to check that out. But yeah, so now you know. Alright, talk to y'all later.